First of all, my thanks to all of you for the invitation to come and spend a little bit of time. First thing I want to say is anybody in the back, if you're having trouble hearing because we're outside and who knows what direction my voice is going to go, please let me know if you're having trouble hearing. Okay so far?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so here's how I'd like to start. Since obviously we're here for a football-themed, a sports-themed venue, what I'd like to do is just have a quick show of hands with regards to who your favorite professional football team is. So how many people here, your favorite team is the Baltimore Ravens? How many people here have your favorite team being the Washington Redskins? Were fans of the once Baltimore Colts? How many people are still fans of the Indianapolis Colts? How many people here are Pittsburgh Steelers fans? Wait, okay, so Carl, I thought you said this was the Maryland chapter of the Steelers fan club. All right.
So, not a Cowboys.
Oh, okay. Other teams. I saw a Giants jersey, Cowboys. Who's a fan of another team? I see a Bears jersey. Any other straggler teams?
We have the Eagles.
The Eagles, we're close to Philly. Anybody else?
The New York Dwarfs favorite.
Regardless of who your favorite pro team is, hopefully what we're going to do is have a little bit of fun this morning, because what we're going to do is talk a little bit about football and a little bit about management and a little bit about leadership in the context of that. And here's why I'm even up here talking to you about this. So what I do for a living, I'm a management consultant and a technology consultant. So here's the interesting thing about this with regards to the jersey I happen to be wearing.
Yeah.
The way, thank you.
Yes.
The way I started the story, or the way I started the book was way back in 1968 when I was a youngster, shall we say. My dad took me to a Baltimore Colts, Pittsburgh Steelers football game. Now, who here, for those of you that were Baltimore Colts fans, who remembers the year that they made it to the Super Bowl and kind of had some problems playing Joe Namath and the Jets? Everybody remember those years? Okay. That was the year that I went to the Colts-Steelers game, and the Colts were, at the time, the Super Bowl results notwithstanding, the best team in football, maybe one of the best teams of all time. Again, Super Bowl results notwithstanding. The quarterback at the time for the Colts, even though he was injured most of the year, was Johnny Unitas. And you'll see wearing the Johnny Unitas jerseys. Now, I'll talk a little bit about some of the lessons in the book, but what I'm not here to do is try to convert you all into either Steelers fans or people who can quote chapter and verse about the Steelers from 1973 or 1988 or anything else like that. What we're going to do, we're going to have a mixture of some exercises. I'll be calling a few of you up here. I'll be asking for volunteers, which hopefully will be good because it is kind of brisk this morning. So hopefully a couple of you getting up and passing around to football and talking about some management lessons in that context will be kind of invigorating for you. So, quick question for you. How many people here are either branch chiefs or section chiefs? Could you just a quick raise of hand? Okay. Each of you has management responsibilities, leadership responsibilities, supervisory responsibilities. One of the things that I always think is very important is in every organization, every single person, even if he or she does not have official management line responsibilities, official budget, anything else like that, everybody should be grounded in the basic precepts, the basic principles of management and supervisory skills. The reason is, okay, who can tell me what is the famous team, the most famous team that Vince Lombardi was the coach for? Green Bay Packers. Who can tell me the other team that Vince Lombardi coached very late in his career? The Redskins. So I in fact taken the training camp like every other team in professional football, and he used to start off every training camp by holding up a football and saying to his team, "Gentlemen, this is a football." What does that mean? What was he trying to get across to his players at the very beginning of training camp?
Focus on football.
That's right. Even if his team happened to be the world champions, which they were more often than not, that same group of players, not necessarily new players, even though every year there would be new players coming in, but that same group of players who had just won the world championship, this is back in the Super Bowl days or even before the Super Bowl, when they would come back to training camp, they would need to reinforce the same basic principles that they had learned and in fact were usually the best in the world at. And there was no harm in working with each other, working with the new people, working with the coaches to reinforce those principles. Okay. Now, as the manager of this group here, what's the difference to you between observing how they did and not observing, but then trying to find out how they did? Just talk about some of the differences.
Well, they was more productive without me watching them, or observing what they're doing. By me not being around, it was more, just more productive.
Okay. How about the difference between actually seeing how they performed versus hearing how they performed? Any thoughts about the difference? Let me ask it this way. Do you have confidence in what they told you about what the results were? Do you trust those results?
Yes, I trust.
Okay. Why?
Because I hired them.
Okay.
Because I hired
Okay. So, as a manager in this particular setting, you are willing to say, okay, I trust you to accurately report to me how you did, how you performed. Correct? Okay. Think of some examples of maybe a situation where you wouldn't necessarily have quite the confidence in that particular accuracy.
Well, in meaning, like if they had not done their job right well.
Possibly.
One of them probably took a day off and the other one covered the work.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
No, that's fine.
I wouldn't know. But basically, you would trust them in doing their work. Have to
Okay.
watch them.
But as a manager, when you observe and when you yourself can measure, less confidence or the same confidence as when you don't That's the way I always view management and leadership. There are mechanical, by-the-book things you do that are management-oriented. There's a creativity aspect, but the reality is the best managers are very good leaders, and the best leaders tend to be very good managers. And the two really do work very well together. And some people may be stronger managers than leaders and vice versa. And then over time, you just hone your skills on both of those disciplines and tend to be even more effective. And with that, again, my thanks to everybody. I really enjoyed the part I played in this, and I hope everybody had a good time today. Quarterback that day because Johnny Unitas got injured very early. Does anybody know, this is another little trivia thing, something that links those two gentlemen together with Pittsburgh football history? Any ideas by curiosity?
Steelers and
That's right. Back in 1956, Johnny Unitas was one of the Steelers quarterbacks in the preseason. The Steelers decided to cut him, and in fact, they went with that gentleman right there, Earl Morrow, as well as a couple other future Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Let them all get away and basically suffer through about another, 15, close to 20 years worth of really bad seasons. So one of the lessons in my book, and this actually goes back to a gentleman named Terry Bradshaw, who most of you have probably heard of, is even when you have an employee, or in the case of the Pittsburgh Steelers, a quarterback, or for that matter, a player at any other position, who is sort of a diamond in the rough, shows talent, has promise, but maybe he's not quite really, getting the job done right away. Too often in business, the temptation is, you know what, this person's been working for us for 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, and the performance isn't quite up there. Looking only at the results, not necessarily the promise, and then jettisoning that person, whether it's a termination or moving a person into another job. So one of the lessons, just to jump ahead for a second, is that when you have employees, sometimes if they truly do show promise, it's worth having some sort of a level of patience with them to nurture that diamond in the rough type of promise that they have. Because otherwise what will happen is, just like with the Steelers that day in 1968, those players, if they truly have some promise, wind up on the other team, or in the case of business, the other company, and wind up coming back to haunt you. So the interesting thing about those Colts